I'll call the Thursday, May 22nd, 2025 City Commission meeting to order at 4 p.m. We have 4 commissioners present in person, and we have 1 commissioner on the phone today. Good luck to that soccer team, Elena.
Thank you.
Minutes from the previous meeting, corrections, additions?
Have none.
Move right along. Financial statement. Mr. Rupp.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Kim Rupp, Director of Finance. This is financial summaries of revenue and expenditure activities for the City of Hayes, month ended April 30, 2025. Revenues in April totaled $3,147,350. That's an increase of $1,445,820 when we compare to the same period last year. Some notable areas of increased revenue compared to April of 24. The largest share of the noted increase above was due to the timing of the sales tax receipts again. They were received from the state in May last year. Transient guest tax was up $287,220 due to timing as well. And also transient guest tax is up $36,500 year to date, or 5.6%. Miscellaneous revenue for the new equipment reserve fund rose $21,200 for the sale of 2 PD vehicles, a salt brine generator, and a 3/4 ton pickup at Purple Wave auction. Solid waste miscellaneous revenue was up $27,000 due mostly to the final settlement of the defective baler. Notable areas of revenue decrease: insurance refunds for the employee benefits fell $15,292. That was for the KMET audit refund received at this time last year. Expenditures in April totaled $2,536,400. That's an increase of $486,000 when we compare back to April of 24. Some notable increases: KHP hangar wrapping up increased expenditures for airport improvement, $25,600. And as 32nd, 33rd continues to ramp up, capital projects rose $205,000. The 2024 audit expense increased finance city clerk $33,930. Solid waste reserves rose $20,000 for the purchase of replacement polycarts. And easement purchases for the R9 pipeline are beginning. Therefore, water sales tax project expenditures were up $53,390. Notable areas of decreased expenditure: service was working street repair at this time last year, decreasing concrete expenditures $28,500. Special highway fell $104,000 for the Main Street bridge work going on a year ago at this time. And special parks projects dropped $148,000 for the city's share of the Larks Park turf replacement a year ago. Month-to-date general fund sales tax collections were at $693,547. That's a decrease of $37,000 or 5% compared to last year. Year-to-date, however, general fund sales tax is still trending up, $69,000 or 2.2%. 6-month average was at 1.43. That's a year-over-year increase of 0.72%. Year-to-date, county sales tax collections were at $379,700, up $13,500. Report of top 10 quarter-to-date sales tax collections by classification was up $45,779, or 1.47%. Those top 10 still represent 74% of the total sales tax collections. That's for a running quarter. Finally, the total par value of the U.S. Treasuries for April was $11.717 million, with a weighted average yield to maturity of 4.2. That's down 0.57 from a year ago. The total of the portfolio certificates of deposit on April 30 was $56,770,984. That's a weighted average rate to maturity of 4.71, down 0.3%. Total balance of the money market account on April 30 was $3.2 million, with a current yield of 3.388. That's down 0.77 from a year ago. Total investments were up $944,626.
Make a motion to approve the April 2025 financial statement.
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Musil, seconded by Commissioner Barrick. Questions or comments? Questions for Mr. Rupp?
Any concerns on the sales tax decrease?
Not enough with that 1 month yet. We'll see what we should any day here get May's numbers. That'll be March, April receipts for the most part. February, March, April, somewhere.
That's the biggest decrease we've had in quite a while, isn't it?
Yes,
I was hoping maybe you had maize.
not yet.
And I have a quick question also on the 32nd Street. I know that's not necessarily finance, but are we, do you feel like they're still on the timeline where they need to be on that reconstruction?
I believe so. I think the project manager is happy with their progress, and Jesse just gave me a thumbs up, so, yes.
Okay, thank you.
I'm amazed at how fast they're going, to be honest with you. I'm really amazed.
They had some, a period after the last rain where I think they had to let some
Dry out.
drying out happen, but they made some pretty large pours, and I think maybe next week they're gonna transition over to the other side.
And I've seen them working
Couple
past normal work hours, so I know their intention's good.
Well, it looked like they finished the sidewalks today, so
Yeah.
that's a plus.
Yeah.
Okay.
Doing a good job. Anything else? Not, call for a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you. Any citizen comments for non-agenda items? We have- Step up and stand for yourself, please.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Oh, I'm too short. My name's Monique Kerner. I am the Family and Community Wellness Agent for the Cottonwood Extension District. I think Jay has been here before, but we also wanted to come and introduce ourselves to the Commission and just let you know what we've been up to if you haven't seen some of the things that we've been doing. So in April, we held a community baby shower. It was to promote safe sleep, and we had 50 portable cribs that we were able to give to participants, new families or prenatal families, if they did a pre and post survey. And we ended up giving out 30 of those, and also some safe sleep sacks as well. So it was a very well-attended event. We had around 42 participants that came, and then we also had 19 vendors, so really good support from the community. We utilized tour guides to help get participants engaged and involved with the education pieces, and then also the vendors. And we had a grant from Midwest Energy to get the sleep sacks, a grant to get the portable cribs from the state, and the Women Who Lead also helped us out with refreshments, so that was a nice touch to the event as well. We hope to make this an annual event. We have a subcommittee that will meet later in June and hopefully be able to make plans to make this an annual event. Hopefully again around the week of the young child to help bring awareness to that. We're also going to continue our Becoming a Mom classes as well. They're prenatal education classes, and we have a great group of instructors, and we were able to grow the program from about 5 participants from the first week that we started to 13 participants by the end of the classes as well. So those have been well received, and we hope to start another series at the end of July after fair. And also to kind of gear up for fair, we will be holding a yeast breads class, so that will help people to enter into the King Arthur class, so we'll be doing that. And we also held a babysitting clinic in March that was also well received. We had around 12 to 13 participants for that, so we are going to hopefully make that maybe a yearly or biannual event as well. And this go around, we're actually going to work with the county EMS services, and participants will leave with certifications in CPR and first aid. So it'll be an all-day thing. So any questions?
Really appreciate you coming out and talking about it. I saw that project. I don't know if it's Hayes Daily or Hayes Post, but that sounded like a great project.
Yeah, it was.
Good community participation.
Yes, absolutely. We held it at St. Nick's Church, and even with all of the construction and everything, we got people to come. Our only challenge was, I think it's going to grow, and we're going to need a bigger space.
More space.
So,
That's a good problem.
Yeah,
That's a
good
good
problems to
problem.
have. I'll take it. So, if there are any other questions?
You want to introduce who's with you?
Yes. I would like to introduce Carissa Frazier. She just started with us on May 1st. She is our new community health worker, so she's going to talk about her position.
Very good.
I may be a familiar face. I was the Family and Community Wellness Agent in Barton County previously. So now I'm filling this brand new position for the Cottonwood Extension District. So I'll be a community health worker officially certified in August. So that means I'll be able to work with clients, connect them to healthcare resources, social services. I can do one-on-one health education or group health education. and that's just brushing the surface of what I can do. So I'm really excited about the possibilities this can bring to Hayes, and right now I'm looking for some partner agencies to get some clients and just start helping people. So that's
Very
what
good.
I'm about.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Any questions for me?
Multi-talented. There's so many things you can do. We're looking forward to a healthier community.
There you go.
And last but not least, I'm Tamara Robertson. I'm the 4-H Youth Development Agent with the Cottonwood Extension District. I take over the Ellis County portion of our district. So with our 4-H program here in Ellis County, we have over 200 youth that participate. So that is ages 5 to 18. We have a 5 to 6-year-old program that is the Clover Beds, and then 7 to 18 is our full-fledged 4-H members. And then we also have about 50 certified volunteers that go through screening and are background checked as well that help make sure our program goes as smooth as possible. Our biggest event is coming up, which is the county fair. We work with our Ellis County Fair Board to make sure that is possible. It's a good opportunity for our 4-H members to showcase their 4-H projects. I like to say that 4-H is not just cookies and cows. We have about 45 different projects where these kids can show off their skills and what they learn. And then we just recently finished our senior scholarship interviews and applications, and so I have kind of a senior impact statements from about 7 of our seniors so far. So, any questions for me?
Very good. You said there are about 200 kids in the program.
Correct.
Is that steady? Is it up, down?
It's pretty steady over the last few years. With COVID, we had a decline in numbers, but it's slowly been gaining, but only by a few.
Do you do any kind of education in the schools for 4-H?
Try to. So I do a lot of programs with the Historical Society and certain Kids Ag Day, stuff like
Oh,
that.
yeah,
where
good.
Can give them some certain life skills for them to learn.
A lot of times it's just awareness, and
Yep.
as much as we can get out there and make people aware is a good thing. Any questions, commissioners? Elena, do you have any questions?
I do not, thank you.
You bet.
Thank you for what
Thank
you
you,
guys are
ladies.
doing.
Thanks for coming. Appreciate your program.
Yeah. Yep, we can. Thank you.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is the consent agenda, and within that consent agenda, we have a couple of things. We have a cereal malt beverage license request for the Hayes Lions Club. We also have appointments that I'm recommending to the Planning Commission, Mr. Brian Garrett, Bernie Gribben, and Matthew Wheeler. To the Hayes Convention and Visitors Bureau is Megan Rietzma. And last but not least, Julie Zollinger is going to fill an unexpired term on the Northwest Kansas Community Corrections.
I move approval of the consent agenda, items A through C.
Second.
Been moved by Commissioner Reuter, seconded by Commissioner Barrick. Any other questions or comments?
Have none.
Appreciate all the interest in serving.
It really is. What was fun, as a mayor, you go through this and you work on it all year, but we actually have everything full now and nobody leaving. And I work with Andrea Winhall's the administrative assistant. She's amazing. And we don't have to go out looking because we have excess people even looking to fill some of these boards. So we do appreciate that all the time. I'll call for a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Passes 5-0. First, number 6 on the agenda, runway 422 reconstruction awarded bid, Jamie Salter.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Jamie Salter, Director of Hayes Regional Airport. I've got 2 items for you today, both of which relate to the reconstruction of runway 422 at the airport. The reconstruction of the Crosswind runway 422 is included in the FAA's Airport Improvement Program, meaning it is eligible for federal grant funding. Lochner was previously selected as the airport's engineering consultant for the project, and design was brought to the commission for approval earlier last year. The image here shows the Crosswind runway to be reconstructed in blue. We also pulled in a portion of taxiway Mike at the runway intersection into the project scope as there was significant pavement deterioration in this area. That's shown here in yellow. The reconstructed runway will keep its same dimensions, but will be able to accommodate larger aircraft. And the runway, some of you were here when we actually did that project, but runway's lighting has already been upgraded. It was done in 2020 to LED, so very minor movement of some of the, if the pavement geometry has changed at the intersection, there very minor movement of lighting and signage that will be repurposed using what's already in place. The crossing runway's pavement has been deteriorating more rapidly in the last few years, even requiring closure at times because it falls out of compliance with the FAA safety standards. We see longitudinal cracking, which is shown here on the left, durability cracking, spalling, sinking, and heaving. Pavement failures are producing more and more foreign object debris or FOD, which is a bad word out at airports. It's hazardous to aircraft and those accessing the area because it can be ingested into jet engines, or props that are coming through can cause it to be a projectile and obviously can injure people, hurt people, or damage aircraft or any equipment or anything that's in the area. These are photos of the pavement at the intersection of the crosswind on Taxiway Mike. This area is showing extensive signs of alkali silica reaction, or ASR. This is a chemical reaction between the cement and the aggregate used when the pavement was originally put in. And over time, that chemical reaction, along with water, internal pressure, and expansion, causes this type of spalling. And it does span across entire panels. And it's kind of chasing it. There's not really an ideal way to fix it. And it does create heavy FOD in these areas just because it flakes off from the top and continues to go. This is an example of the heaving concrete. The shifts over, it has shifted upwards of 3 inches. A lot of times in the winter, which requires runway closure because it's outside of our safety standards compliance. Last week, Commissioner Musil asked if the added pavement strength would allow bigger planes to operate at Hayes. And I think it's important to note that this runway has been overloaded. I mean, at least since I've been there, I know in the last 6 years, it wasn't designed to handle the aircraft that currently operates on it. So I don't see any design that we took into account the projected fleet mix and what development and those types of things look like for the airport. So for the life expectancy of and service life of the runway, it will accommodate that. Last week, Commissioner Cunningham also inquired as to what the average life expectancy of a runway is, and if the added pavement strength will increase that, because we're sitting at 22, 23 years right now, and it should be, typically they are much longer, 30 or 40 years. Manhattan just reconstructed a couple years back, and theirs was 43 years old, so you can get a lot more out of it, and that was the goal during design of this project. Bids for the reconstruction of runway 422 and the Taxiway Mike intersection pavement were opened on April 15th. We received bids from 5 contractors, with the low bid coming in under budget from Smoky Hill at just under $6.7 million. Smoky Hill has completed past projects for the airport and the city, including the actual reconstruction of our primary runway 1634. They did the Vine Street roundabouts and South Vine reconstruction. As I mentioned earlier, this project is eligible for FAA federal grant funding. Traditionally, projects like this are reimbursable at 90%, meaning local cost share is 10%. But for 2025 and 2026 projects, they're actually covering those at 95%. So remaining local share of 5% is just over $330,000 and will be funded from the airport improvement funds, and adequate funds are available at this time to take care of this project. Contractor has 143 calendar days to complete the project. It will begin, we're shooting for next spring as soon as weather allows. They'll start, and completion late fall, at least before winter hits. So it all should be completed next year. As far as impact to airport operations, the crosswind will obviously be closed during the project, but I specifically wanted to touch on the impact to the primary runway. Got the crosswind runway here. It's canted east-west, and north up, south is down, and we've got the primary runway north-south with the parallel taxiway running next to it. When they are working in the blue area there, that's actually the safety area of the primary runway, which will require closure. We can't have any equipment. The pavement has to be able to withstand the heaviest aircraft that is supposed to be operating on that runway, and having torn up or, serious depressions or humps, heaves, anything like that, it's not compliant with our 139 obligations. So we have to close the runway. That looks, they're shooting for 21 days. You can see their liquidated damages for that time frame do increase. And then in the yellow area there, that's actually, they'll have to back taxi. So when I say they, I mean anybody wanting to operate on the main runway. So in the yellow area, that's an additional 14 days. And they will actually be able to back taxi, but they can't taxi all the way down through taxiway Mike. So they'll have to jump on primary runway, back taxi, meaning they're going in the opposite direction they're planning on taking off. Or if they landed, they're turning around on the runway, coming back, jumping on the taxiway where it's accessible to head back to the terminal or to position themselves for takeoff. So we actually are going down to Utah next month, and we'll discuss this with SkyWest, but we're still, this will not be the first portion of the project. Typically, these are, these can have some bumps in the road when you first start. We wouldn't want to start in the most critical area, obviously, because we don't want, I mean, when we're actually closed and everything is closed, we wouldn't want to start a project that's requiring a 3-week closure of the main runway or the back taxi option as well. I know all of you had several questions about impact. Again, we're looking at probably June, July of next year. We've talked to Fort Hays. I'm trying to accommodate what we can, but some of this is what works best for the contractor, what works best for us, what works best for commercial service. Trying to accommodate as many people as we can. But as far as the runway closure, that's what we're looking at, probably midsummer next year. So we don't have anything. We've sent out generic, hey, just so you know, but we do not have a specific time frame now. But as soon as we do, we will. It's just really difficult to, likely what would happen is SkyWest wouldn't sell tickets during that time. They'd probably pull that so that people wouldn't, get notification that, hey, your flight has been canceled. So you would like to do that as soon as possible, but I mean, weather can change that type of, there's a lot of variables that go into play that it is better suited as we get a little closer. So we'll do our best to get that notification out, but I have given the general heads up. I know we talked about KHP. I talked with them. I've sent out that type of notification. SkyWest, this is the cost of doing business at airports. This is not the first time an airport has been closed. And when I say closed, I mean our runways are closed, so we can still accept helicopter, rotorcraft operations. So Eagle Med flies helicopter. They typically fly that during that time frame, so that shouldn't be much impact to them. But I think Mayor Jacobs had said last week, as far as getting that notification out as early as possible, as soon as we know it, is obviously ideal, and that is our plan to do that.
Jamie, do you think we'll be able to put signs out there letting people know, like dates it's going to be closed?
Yeah.
I just, believe it or not, I know Hayes Post will have it. We'll have it on our website, but not everybody looks at that, and I think we need to.
I think any avenue we can take to get that information out. We would sure not want people, I mean, it's surprising we still have people that say, you have commercial service?
Yeah.
Or, we don't want somebody to go out and book and think, well, that's gone, or something like that. So I think that any avenue we can take to get that information out is what we want to do.
Fortunately, we have James, who does a really, really good job of getting that information.
That's what I was going to say.
But sometimes you got to put it in front of their face.
Absolutely.
Yes, and he's already starting to, I think his brain is already starting to cook on how to do that. So.
Jamie, first of all, I know a lot of us have reached out to you, and you've been so patient and walked us through this because, as you know, people in the community are asking us questions because that's where those questions usually come to. Sure. So thanks for the patience of talking to those of us that you've spoken with. Were there alternatives that were there any alternatives to this?
So during design, we talked with our engineering consultant, and I also talked with the FAA as far as what could we do. Originally, it was supposed to be a 5-week closure. That was hands down, that's what it was going to be. So we went back to the table and we looked at what is the possibility. SkyWest, I do not see them having an issue with back taxing. Sometimes they have to do it. It just depends. It can happen. Or they land and take off against the wind. So if wind suited, they could take off on one end and land on the other, and they wouldn't have to back taxi. But I think having any of our other operations that we have out there, giving them the access, because they back taxi on crosswind runway anytime the wind favors it all the time. We don't have a parallel taxiway there. So giving that option to them, and that's why we built in that 14 days versus the entire 5 weeks.
Right.
also talking with the FAA as far as would they cost share there are options. When we redid the runway, the primary runway 1634 about 10 years ago or so, we actually shortened the runway. But that was a different type of project. We don't have as much. The construction area is further north for this one. When we're only worried about the main runway, we were already demoing that pavement. So the south end was done first, and it was just north of the crosswind runway. And they moved basically the pavement markings from all the way down at the south end, and you have to move everything. You almost have to strip the entire and all the markings. It changes the type of runway it is. Right now it's a precision approach. That's why there's a lot more markings on one end than there are on the other. That would actually be we'd have to remove all of those. That's wear and tear of pavement. Some of these markings are 150 feet long. So you would have to remove all of that. You would have to restripe it. Commercial service couldn't use it. When we pull it off, commercial service can't use it because you're showing, it doesn't matter if the pavement's there. You have to stripe it to where it says it's not usable for aircraft at this point. It wouldn't be long enough for them. When we did this and actually it's called a displaced threshold. When we did that, we had Great Lakes, and they had their Beach 1900. They could continue to use that. That was long enough for them. So that was, something that came into play. If we did this, it would increase that 3 weeks that we wouldn't have commercial service for the public to, when I looked at what we did last time when we did the main runway reconstruct, just to pull it up and put it back down was about 13 days.
Wow.
And we would be pulling up and putting it back down, and then having to, with that, we demoed that pavement. So we didn't have to pull those markings back up and put them back down. So what we did was we had a displaced threshold for a portion of it. It was 66 days, I believe. So 21 days and 66 days are a lot different. The FAA looks at that different. It's not cost effective. It's not efficient to do this. It's, again, anyone who says if you pull up markings, you're not damaging the pavement, you absolutely are. You are touching that surface. So that's our primary runway. You want to protect that as much as you can, as much as possible. So pulling those up, when we did that, you were already demoing that pavement. So we would have to pull them up, put them down, almost every marking. And I'm not even getting into lighting. You have to cover those, pull those, put in temporary lighting. You have to change. Some of that lighting is different colors, and it means something to the pilot. You would have to change all of those lenses and then move it all back. And again, it would just be a visual runway, which is fine. That's what our crosswind runway is. But the work that is involved does not. When we restriped the main runway in 2020, we had to pull up those markings and put them back. It was about $330,000.
That's just phenomenal to me, the numbers that we're talking about.
And that's pulling up and putting it back down. Again, this is a little different because you wouldn't remove everything on the north end, but again, the majority of our markings are on the south end. And with the last one that took 13 days to restripe that runway, you didn't have to pull them up again and put them back down. You were restriping a brand new section of pavement. So those are all things that need to come into play.
Well, it sounds to me like, Jamie, you've done your homework and you've reduced the closure from 5 weeks to 2 weeks, and I think that's huge. From what my understanding is, SkyWest understands this is something that has to happen. SkyWest is so important that we have to really make sure we're doing everything that meets their needs, and if they can get through this 3 weeks, 21 days, 3 weeks. I said 2, didn't I? Yeah. I had no doubt. I just needed you to share with us all of the work that you've done on this and what you try to accomplish. That's how you do business, and I appreciate it.
I think we're doing this crosswind runway, our commercial service can't and will never use.
Mm-hmm.
That is for every other operator we have out there that can use it. But, sometimes there is a give and take to get something like that.
Sure, and we absolutely appreciate the GAs. We absolutely appreciate that. We want to try to accommodate everything we can, but I think the important thing through this, what I found out and discovered as I dig farther into it, without SkyWest, we don't have an airport. If we don't have commercial service, we don't have the money to do all the other things that we think we want to do at this airport. So we really do have to cater to them, and if they can get through this period, I'm respectful of that.
If I could add to that, I think this crosswind runway is a good example of that. So altogether, when you go back to design engineering, we're spending about $7.5 million on this crosswind runway. It's costing us about $500,000 because the federal government, the FAA, is picking up the rest of it. That is because of our status as a commercial service airport and the amount of people we fly out of there. So that's a huge savings
That's
to
a huge,
taxpayers.
huge figure.
So when we redid the main runway, we didn't close the airport, though, did we?
We didn't have, well, you did have to when you did the north section. I guess we closed. We didn't have commercial service at that time. SkyWest was actually coming on, so we had. I mean, it went dark for a little while as far as that.
That's
there was
right.
a few months when
That's
Great Lakes bowed out, and then
Yep.
SkyWest was going to start. And I think we might have actually pushed off, from what I read, SkyWest coming in because of this, because
Okay.
they couldn't use the crosswind.
There
But-
was a planned closure on the north end, as Jamie said. They were able to do that displaced threshold thing to keep it open a little bit longer because the Beach 1900s could use that. But then when the DOT awarded SkyWest the bid, remember Great Lakes vacated before their contract was up.
Right.
And so we had a period of no commercial service out there, which allowed them to have the main runway closed for several months while it was being reconstructed.
with no impact.
So is there any record when we did this, 22 years ago, none of us were up here, did the airport close then? Do you have any clue when we redid
I
this?
think it was a turf runway, wasn't it? And they paved it. I'm sure
Yeah.
it was a total.
It was actually
different-
moved, so it
there's
used to be
much that-
further
Okay.
north.
North, yes.
Okay.
Darryl, was it turf? Yes. Okay, yeah, and it was further north, so when that was created, it was a new construction.
But we had commercial then, didn't we, or not?
Yeah, you would have had like probably Air Midwest.
Okay.
I'm not sure if we were even, right now, I've mentioned Part 139 regulations. That's the same type of regulations that any big airport, Denver, Wichita, Kansas City, any small, medium, large hub airport has to adhere to. We do the same as far as what we have to do in the airfield. There are things that we do. So I actually, Dodge City is getting ready to reconstruct their crosswind runway, and they actually reconstructed their primary in the last few years. So I called their airport and said, hey, I mean, we all have this network that we, try to bounce ideas off of, because a lot of us deal with the same thing. So I said, what did you do? What did you do when you reconstructed the primary? They did the same thing as us. They shortened up the runway. Now when they're doing the crosswind runway, they're actually going to do it as night work. But the caveat there is their schedule is not ours. We have an 11:15 p.m. Inbound, and we've got an outbound at 6:35 a.m.
Yeah.
They've got, I didn't check, but it's mid-morning and early evening. So they've got a 12, 15-hour window of time during the night where they can knock this stuff out.
Yeah.
That would look like, to us, we wouldn't have that type of window because of how our flight schedule lays. But, I mean, what would we do? Close it after the first flight of the day and have it closed for the day? I mean, that's inefficient. That's going
Right.
to take a ton of time. You're not going to get the same quality, start, stop. You're just not going to get that. You can't.
Yeah, I guess my last comment is I just hope, like last week with graduations, how many, people were flying in and out, that we can move it past graduation.
I've already
but-
talked with Fort Hayes and
Thank
said,
you.
what are your blocks of time?
Sure.
And we had made that, we had talked about that during our pre-bid meeting so that the contractors that were going to bid, really understood. Those are things that are important to us,
Thank you, Jamie. Appreciate it.
Any other questions?
I don't have any questions. I just think it's, when it's going to be a 5-week closure and you work to make it a 3-week closure, and the alternative is to make it back to a 5-week closure and throw $330,000 on top of it, just lets us know how good a job of you're doing and minimizing our time lost.
No, we don't.
Talking outside of the motion.
Yeah, I don't
Okay.
think she's got to the motion yet.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. I know,
Pulling
I feel
myself
like
back.
I'm waiting for you guys to do
Yeah.
something.
I'll wait and hold my
The commission has these options, and this is the action requested. I will stand for any other questions you may have.
I move to accept the bid from Smoky Hill LLC in the amount of $6,676,180.98 to reconstruct runway 422 and taxiway M at the intersection of runway 422 to to be paid from the Airport Improvement Fund contingent upon the FAA awarding a grant for federal funding, and authorize the city manager to carry out this project, including the execution of the FAA grant agreement when offered.
Second.
Been moved by Commissioner Reuter, second by Commissioner Barrick. Is there anything else?
Commissioner Reuter, could you repeat that?
I was gonna say, can you please?
I'll fix it real
Run
quick.
it out.
I'll call for a vote. All in favor, please say aye. Oh, sorry, Elena. Sorry, yes.
I just want to say thank you, Jamie, for the due diligence that you've done in looking into options, exploring what other airports have been doing. And I just want to point out again to the public that without being the Part 139, and while I know those regulations can feel cumbersome, that without that, we don't get that shared funding, and we couldn't afford to make these runways safe. So again, thank you for all your work you put into this.
Yes, my pleasure.
Well said.
Would agree.
Yeah, I want to echo that too. Just, I appreciate all the research you've done into it.
Yes.
You know, beyond your scope of time here, from when it was turf to now, building it to what it is now of record-breaking boardings that we have constantly, and what the economic impact is beyond your fence line out there, reaching out to other portions of the community that are directly affected with commercial service that are going to be affected by this, and then finding ways to mitigate that downtime is phenomenal work. So I really appreciate you doing that.
I think this is, I mean, important thing is what's best for the airport, you know, and like I said, doing it like this, you will get the best quality. It will be the most efficient. You will have the least amount of impact in terms of, I mean, what drives dollars out there, you know, so that we can afford to pay for a crosswind runway reconstruct.
Absolutely.
And we get feedback on a very regular basis how important that airport is to us from the hospital, from the university. We're seeing huge usage, and that's not going to slow down. So, and I reiterate everything they said, Jamie. Taking the time to talk to all of us this week has taken from your time, and I don't know who all has visited with you, but we appreciate what you do, and we know you know what you're doing.
Thank you.
Call for a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Passes 5-0. The second part of that, runway 422 reconstruction, the construction engineering services.
The previous agenda item addressed bids received for the reconstruction of runway 422 at the Hayes Regional Airport. As part of this project, the FAA requires construction inspection and observation to satisfy the terms of the grant and to ensure proper adherence to the plans and quality construction. Lochner, the airport's engineering consultant for this project, has presented a scope of services and fee proposal to accomplish the required construction oversight and project documentation. Cost for these services is just under $450,000 with an FAA grant share of the 95%. This leaves a 5% local share of about $22,000, and adequate funds are available in the Airport Improvement Fund to cover these costs. And the commission has these options. And this is the action requested, and I will stand for any other questions.
I used up all my words.
Did you? I move to authorize the city manager to execute the consultant agreement for construction of engineering services with Lochner in the amount of $445,800 to be paid from the Airport Improvement Fund and execute the FAA grant agreement when offered.
Second. No. How about it?
Whoever you choose.
I picked. Moved by Commissioner Barrick, seconded by Commissioner Musil. Any other questions or comments? Now I call for a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Passes 5-0. Thank you, Jamie, very much.
Thank you, Jamie.
Appreciate all the time you spent with us and with this.
You bet.
Next agenda item, Covenant Estates First Edition rezoning request from Agricultural District AL to Residential General District RG. Hi, Jesse.
Hello, good afternoon. Jesse Rohr, Director of Public Works. All three of my items today, my agenda items pertain to the Covenant Estates First Edition. First one of those is the rezoning, as you mentioned, and that is to consider rezoning the property from its current ag district to residential district. So you'll see these maps often. All three agenda items have the same maps. We're talking about the same property at the same location. Property is south of 41st Street, west of Thunderbird, and most of us familiar with it know it formerly as the Phillips property, farm ground that's been vacant for, well, forever.
Wondered where you were going to go with that.
The image on the right, you can see the subject property tonight. There is a large tract of property there, however, they're breaking it down into phases. And so the first edition is the red box that you see in the right image there. So for the rezoning, it is currently zoned ag, as I mentioned, and the proposal is to zone it to RG, which is the City Hayes' residential general district, or the primary single-family residential district that we see in Hayes. Anytime we talk about rezonings, we also want to take into account the comprehensive plan, and within the adopted comprehensive plan, we have the future land use map. So the zoning is required to take into consideration what the future land use map shows that area as, if it's ever rezoned, and in this case, it's shown as low-density residential, which is exactly what the RG designation is. There are several types of uses within the RG zoning district, and we always like to show those. So there's three main types. There's uses by right. So here you can see uses by right. So if rezoned to RG, any of these uses are fair game for the property. Primary one we see will be the fifth bullet point down there, the single-family detached or single-family dwellings. There's also a type of uses called limited uses. So these are uses that are also allowed, but with each of these, there are certain criteria that have to be met in order for them to be approved uses. However, these are administrative approvals through City Hayes staff. And then the last type would be uses by exception. If any of these uses were to be proposed in an RG zoning district, it would require a public hearing, notification of surrounding property owners, and Board of Zoning Appeals approvals. Your options for this one, you can approve as submitted. I do want to mention that the Planning Commission did approve this by a 6-0 vote. You could send the request back to the Planning Commission for further consideration, or approve it with a 2/3 majority vote to overturn the Planning Commission's recommendation. The action requested is on the screen, and I'd take any questions you might
I'll
have.
make a motion to adopt ordinance number 4071, approving a rezoning request from Agriculture District AL to Residential General District RG for Covenant Estates, first edition, as legally described within the adopting ordinance.
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Musil, seconded by Commissioner Reuter. Any questions for Jesse? If not, call for a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, passes 5-0. You guys do that to me on purpose. Next item, Jesse, Covenant Estates First Edition, the final plat.
Okay, so the same property, only this time, instead of the zoning, we're talking about the platting of the property, which allows for subdivision and creation of right-of-way and easements for future development. The picture on the right, so I've added a little bit from what you saw in the last item. So you still see the subject property, which is the first edition, and it's likely that in the near future you would see us back here and before the Planning Commission as well for future additions as the development moves north. So here's an image of the plat, and I'll show a closer up version here in a minute as well. So, but this is basically that red box area that you saw, known as the first edition. There's approximately 54 lots, I believe, and you can see the street right away there, easements as required as well. This particular plat's about 20 acres in size, 3 blocks, yeah, a total of 54 lots. And then there's, as I mentioned, the future development area, about 55 acres that remains for future development between this development and 41st Street to the north. As is typical, the plat will include drainage areas, green space, as well as a multi-use path, as is required by the Unified Development Code for all new residential developments. Here's that closer up version I said I'd mention. 3 or 4 different streets within the development, new streets. The streets will connect on the south end to existing streets. The one on the far left is Columbine, that'll connect to Columbine where it exists currently. And then Cherry Hill will also connect as well to the south. So there'll be two ways into this development from existing streets in the city. With this item, here's your options. You can either approve as submitted. This one did also go before the Planning Commission and was approved unanimously. If you need or would recommend any changes, those would be considered as well. Or you could, of course, not approve, but the action requested would be for your consideration of approval.
I move to approve resolution number 2025-005, accepting the Covenant Estates First Edition final plat.
Second?
Been moved by Commissioner Reuter, seconded by Commissioner Barrick. Questions?
Sure we don't want to send this back?
You want to fight him?
I think Mason just took this one because it was a short one.
It is.
Are you guys done?
Yes, we're done.
Do you have any questions or comments?
No.
No, pretty straightforward.
Call for the vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Item 10, Covenant Estates First Edition annexation.
Okay, so now that we've got the rezoning approved and the plat approved, we can move on to annexation into the city limits of Hayes. Again, we're familiar with the property. Here again is the image of the 20 acres being developed, and what I'll point out on this map is how it relates to current property within city limits. So the blue tinted property is currently in the city limits, so it's pretty much bounded on three sides by city property currently. And again, as this develops north, we would expect and anticipate that other property to the north be annexed as well. So we did receive an application for consideration of annexation from the owner. These types of annexations, known by state law as consensual annexations, are the simplest for us to do. The property is contiguous with city limits, as I just mentioned in the last slide. And what this will allow is for city infrastructure, so streets, water, sewer, utility infrastructure, as well as other services such as fire service, police service, those kind of things will be allowed once it's annexed into the property. All those sorts of utilities are currently available up to the property and will be extended through the property through the course of development. Again, here's just an image of the plat itself, which we saw in the last item. So it is the full 20 acres being considered for annexation. Your options on this one, either annex the property or do not. And this is the action requested here.
I move to approve ordinance number 4072, annexing the property for Covenant Estates First Edition as legally described within the adopting ordinance.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Barrick, seconded by Commissioner Reuter. Anything? Not a call for the vote. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Pass 5-0. Thank you,
you.
Jesse.
Yes, we let you off way too early. Way too quick.
We're ready for progress.
Good afternoon, Colin Belzer, Deputy City Manager. So there was a water leak, unfortunately, in the 1300 block of Marshall that had to be repaired, the sidewalk, curb, and gutter after the leak occurred. The Hayes Fire Department hosted a rope rescue course, and testing was held on May 2nd. The training was provided by the Kansas Fire and Rescue Training Institute, and all members all Fire Department members attended the training, and certification is required for the members who serve on the Technical Rescue Task Force team. Deputy Fire Chief Shane Preston accepted a Community Service Award from the Boy Scouts of America on behalf of the Hayes Fire Department, and pictured is Deputy Chief Preston, as well as Fire Explorer and Youth Leadership Advisory Board member Preston Murmas. The Fire Department also participated in the Kansas Science Festival on May 4th. In park, staff applied a roll coat to the poured-in-place surfacing at the Arc Park and patched holes. So this binds any loose rubber granules and stabilizes the surface. There is no time frame on how often this needs to be done. It all depends on weather and the amount of foot traffic. And the park had to be shut down for the product to cure, which varies based on heat, wind, and humidity. And then while they're doing that, they also roll coated they groomed the turf, which cleans up debris while lifting matted down areas. Parks Department presented Mayor Jacobs the Tree City USA flag. The city of Hayes has been a tree city for 46 years. And on the photo on the right, Jeff Boyle, Parks Director, explains to Bright Minds Academy students the importance of using mulch around trees once they are planted. And then park staff assisted the Kansas Department of Wildlife and Parks with fish sampling at Vineyard Park. Officer Daryl Guston and Community Service Officer Nikki Hausler spent time on the afternoon of April 24th at the O'Laughlin Elementary School Career Day. And then in water, we had a leak in the 1300 block of East 17th Street. They were able to replace a fire hydrant at West 35th and Elm Street. And then we all know that we did request a Cedar release of water from Cedar Bluff. And so Crispin included a video. I won't play the whole thing because it's lengthy, but
That's great.
I see the whole 3 days into it.
they also replaced the tertiary filters. That was a budgeted project for this year with new stainless steel filters instead of the mesh. Water ambassadors led the Incredible Journey activity for the Science Festival on May 4th downtown, and then they also instructed participants on how to travel through the water cycle as a water droplet while creating a bracelet. And then they also participated in Ag Day on the quad at Fort Hays State, where they promoted water smart landscaping and where our water comes from. On April 30th and May 1st, CVB staff assisted visiting author, do you know how to say his name? Heltonimi from Finland. He was researching a short-lived Danish utopian commune that was established a few miles south of Hayes. For National Travel and Tourism Week, CVB staff partnered with Fort Hays State Tourism Hospitality students to express appreciation. The group distributed cookies with tourism impact facts to lodging properties, and they greeted passengers at the Hayes Regional Airport with popcorn to say thank you for flying Hayes. Trees have been removed at Hayes Med campus in preparation for the connector pass from Sternberg Museum to the Grove and from the Grove to 22nd Street. This construction is expected to start the first part of June. The 13th Street reconstruction continues to progress. Curb and gutter is being installed, which will lead way to the pavement installation, and the project is on track to finish by start of the new school year. And then 33rd Street reconstruction is going well. They're very close down the north section of the street opened up. And this is already cured, it looks like, when I drove by last, I know, so I think it'll be switching very soon. I think 2-3 weeks is what Jesse said. Airport staff finished paving Eagle Med's employees' parking lot. So this was something that it used to be a gravel parking lot and created FOD issues, and it was an agreement where Eagle Med paid for the materials, and we did the labor, and then of course their rent went up. Because now they have a concrete parking lot. So, airport staff also paid parking spaces at 2 hangars for parking of tenant vehicles. The square footage has been added to the lease square footage and increases revenue for the airport. So, any questions?
Good stuff. Just good stuff. Thank you, Colin. Hayes happenings and upcoming events, and she's loaded up again.
Hello, Commissioners. Melissa Dixon with the Convention and Visitors Bureau with some events happening in June. The Animal Armor exhibit is an exciting summer exhibit that's hosted at the Sternberg Museum. All the different specimens have one thing in common. They have built-in armor. This exhibit will run through September. The Downtown Hayes Market, which was voted Best Market in Hayes for 2 years in a row, kicks off this Saturday, and then it will run through October, 7:30 a.m. to 11 a.m.
Best market in Kansas?
You said best market in Hayes.
You knew what I meant.
It definitely is
They
the
do
best
it to
market in
me.
Hayes, too.
Thank you for that.
To me, Melissa.
Best Market in Hayes. Thank you for that clarification. The best sports complex in Hayes. This will be packed in June. The first tournament starts the last weekend in May, first weekend in June with Summer Blast. That first one is softball with 45 teams. Midwest Slam Fest is baseball with 64 teams. The Western Kansas State softball will expect 65 teams. And then for Battle on the Plains, that is softball again, and we're expecting 55 teams. These are all USSSA sanctioned events. So we welcome those visitors, and we definitely let our restaurants know when those are coming around. The No Water Summit was rescheduled. It will go back out to the Hilton Garden Inn June the 3rd. Love Grass, if you're not familiar with that group, they're the ones that put on the music festival out at Wilson Lake each summer. They are doing a summer concert series, and the second one will be June the 4th down at the Downtown Pavilion. Ellis County Community Fair. This is hosted by the Ellis County Health Department. So they're going to have games, prizes, but what I'm excited about is if you missed the middle school sports physical clinic, they're going to do that for $25 on site at Big Creek Crossing.
That's a really big deal. That's a really big deal for them to make that offering. I really want to thank them for that.
So convenient, so
Yes.
nice for families that were maybe busy in May, didn't get to it. First Responders Appreciation Barbecue. This is for active and retired first responders and their families, and it's sponsored by all Ellis County Knights of Columbus Councils, and that'll be June the 7th at Frontier Park East. RPM Speedway out at the Ellis County Fairgrounds will host 2 races in June on the 7th and the 21st. Citywide Garage Sales brings an unbelievable amount of people to town, and that will be June 13th and 14th throughout Hayes. They will have a map online of participants, and the Welcome Center will also have a printed map if people prefer. Thunder on the Plains Car Show will be the same weekend. That's Father's Day weekend. They'll be down there June 14th at Municipal Park. And the Fox Theater has some special shows this year as part of their 75th anniversary series. A big one will be June 14th, Black Hawk. Hayes Aquatic Park will host their Father's Day special, which means dads get in free with a paid child on the 15th, and their summer hours 12:30 to 6:30. Hayes Arts Council will host their summer art walk, so this one will flip back to a Friday night, 6:30 to 9:30 on the 20th throughout downtown Hayes. And the Arc Park annual Lemonade Stand Challenge will take place throughout the community on the 26th and the 27th and the 28th. That is always an impressive fundraiser with kids doing some really creative things. There are way more events than this in June, and you can find them. Visit hayes.com on our community events calendar. Any questions?
Thank you, Melissa.
Thank you.
Commissioners, before we start on inquiries and comments, I think I'm going to just bring up a subject, and I'm sure we all probably have some comments on it. People have been seeing that a budget cut could be coming to Essential Air Service, which could be absolutely devastating to us here in Hayes. It's cut, the new budget, the 2026 budget, projects cut it in half. That would absolutely wipe us out in this community. I don't know how we would move forward. It's important that our legislators understand. I have written to all of the legislators. I've written to the staff. I've actually had a couple comments back. A couple of them haven't commented at all. I've had community members that have reached out to all of the congressional and senatorial staff in Washington, including the hospital and the university. It's a serious situation, and we have to be, it's the same situation for Dodge City, Garden City. I think I saw somewhere all of them listed, Garden, Dodge, Liberal, Salina. They're all in the same situation, and it cannot happen in the state of Kansas, and we need to be heard. I have some people in the community, leaders in the community, that are sending me emails that they have sent to their legislators. And so we've got a lot of participation. It needs to continue. People need to speak up, let them know how we feel. Senator Moran is a big supporter of the EAS. I have not heard back from Senator Marshall or Congressman Mann, but I'm looking for some support from them as well. I know you all have some comments.
Yeah, you're 100% right. I mean, we get around $6.5 million in annual subsidy from SkyWest, or the SkyWest annual subsidy. So if we were to lose, that kind of funding, that would, for us to make that up, we would have to increase our mill levy from 25 to 44, almost double the mills just to cover that cover that annual subsidy. Which, property taxes are a big discussion, and to double your current property taxes now just to cover that does not make sense. To do. So it is very important that we let our legislators know how important it is, and it's services that they utilize themselves when they come visit us. The EAS program has been around for a while, and it helped rural communities get access to commercial flights rather than just going to Denver, Kansas City, Dallas.
Yeah. Without it, we would not have commercial service in Hays.
We would not, and you would have to drive 4 hours to get to commercial service, and it's utilized really, really heavily. So, we would have to make up all that money somewhere. So, I don't see any other way around doing that. It's essentially lose the airport or talk to our legislators and make sure it stays, because it is a huge economic impact for Hays and the region.
Yeah, I think that, the EAS, Essential Air Service, was something really started, well, it was started in 1978, because before that, the federal government could regulate airlines and say, you have to stop in these smaller cities, because it was determined that all parts of the United States, small cities, should have access to air service, and that it was very important for rural areas that are a long ways away from large airports have the ability to connect to air service. And when they deregulated the airlines so that they could make more money, they said, look, we will subsidize you, just like milo and wheat farmers are subsidized. We're going to subsidize these smaller cities, the airlines, to make sure that they are still servicing these airports. All right, so said that's $6.5 million. So this is hugely important to Hays. We can't do it without the EAS, without the subsidies, and we don't get those subsidies if we don't have commercial service, right? And we don't get grants, federal grants. Right? We just got 95% of our airport costs covered because we have commercial service. Without commercial service, we don't get those grants. The airport goes downhill. We won't be able to replace anything. So this is crucial. So the reality is, let me be honest, the Trump administration, this area voted him in, right? The rural areas voted overwhelmingly for Trump. And this is how he shows his respect for the rural areas, is to cut essential air services in half, which you might as well cut it to zero, because whether it's cut in half or cut to zero, we lose commercial service, which means we lose our airport. That's why it is hugely important for everyone to contact our senators and our congressmen. And as was mentioned, Senator Moran is very supportive and pushing for full funding for the EAS. I've tried contacting all of them. I did not hear from Senator Marshall, but I did get something today from Congressman Mann, who said that Congressman Mann strongly supports essential air service and even recently submitted a request to fully fund EAS to the House Subcommittee on Transportation, Housing, and Urban Affairs as his #1 priority for fiscal year 2026.
That's terrific.
So that's
Good for him.
very positive thing, and I appreciate that from him. And so I'm going to throw this out there because everybody needs to do this. Get your pen and paper out. Everybody that's listening. Senator Moran, you can go to his Hays office at 1200 Main Street, Suite 402, or call 785-628-6401. Congressman Mann, who I just read his support, you can call 785-370-7277, and somebody will answer the phone. It's very important. Senator Marshall, you can call his DC office at 202-224-4774, or you can call his office in Salina, which is 785-829-9000. So it is vitally important because Western Kansas, all of Western Kansas, not just Hays, will have no air service if our senators and our congressmen don't really push to get support for fully funding essential air service. So this is huge for all of us. So it's important to take our time to contact all of our representatives.
I would echo everything you guys just said. I actually talked to a resident today that flies out of Hays quite often. He had sent a text to Senator Moran last night, and he responded right away saying that basically exactly what you just said. And Moran or a man contacted him, and Marshall did not. And everybody I've talked to, Marshall's the only one not responding. But I think the president is trying to cut wasteful spending. I think that's good, but this is not. It's kind of like our water loan or whatever it's called. They got cut. This is not wasteful spending. This keeps Hayes relevant to the rest of the world. And if we don't have commercial airline, I mean, there's a lot of things that will hurt in this community. We have doctors that come in, perform services. We have people that work at the college that fly in here and fly out quite often. And if we don't have this, we don't have those people living in our community. And this is very important. And I hope people will contact our senators. And I believe our senators are going to fight for us. I truly believe that. But it's I understand giving the president what he wants, but sometimes you got to stand up for what's right. So
Exactly.
I hope they do.
Commissioner Cunningham?
Yeah, I just want to add that one of the things to really think about is not only does the loss of the EAS funding hurt our commercial service, but that in turn hurts even our general aviation because we can no longer afford to make the upgrades or the repairs needed, just for instance, the crosswind runway. We wouldn't be able to afford that without having the commercial air service that lets us tap into these federal funds with the grants. And so not only would we lose that commercial air service without EAS, it will really hurt general aviation altogether. So it hurts our community in so many ways. So I agree with what's been said. Please reach out to our representatives, letting them know how vital it is for our area to keep this funding. And I want to just thank Senator Moran for his support that he's been vocal with, and now hearing the support Deanna is giving. I really want to thank both of them for that. And yeah, just know how essential this is for our area.
Thank you, Commissioner Cunningham. I think we've made ourselves known. I think they know what we would like to have done. But anybody has the opportunity to have any conversation or communication, please do that. We do have an executive session requesting.
Yes, did you want to do final comments first?
Oh, sorry. They all commented so much already.
Sure.
Commissioner Musil.
First of all, Toby, I want to thank you. I know you've been behind the scenes, contacting Moran and everybody about this, and I know you've done a lot of legwork on that, so thank you very much for what you've done. So I just wanted, and I know, some of you guys laugh at me, and I'm okay with this, but I Ubered a lot this last weekend during graduation. And it is just unbelievably amazing the amount of people from other countries come to Hayes. Came into our airport, went to graduation, stayed in our hotels. They ate, and they just bragged on our community. It just gave me goosebumps talking to these people. And there was a guy I think I posted on Facebook from Thailand that had graduated 30 years ago and came back to watch his daughter graduate this year.
Wow.
That's kind of cool,
That's great.
and just kind of showing them around town what has changed in 30 years, and just the positive comments they gave. I think it's to us what we're doing and what our community is doing. So thank you, everybody.
No laughter from us. Cool comments. Commissioner Barrick.
Yes, I would agree, and just like when we had our Finnish visitor said, you guys are a model community. I bet you have to be putting fences up to keep people from moving to Hayes. Well, point is, we've been doing a lot to try to make Hayes that quality of life, livable place where people will want to move to. And, the things that we've been working on here with this group is the things that will make that happen. Water, an airport with record employments for like the last practically year. These are things, if we don't have them, if we don't get water, we don't keep an airport, then everything that we've done for quality of life in this town goes out the window. Really does. And so it's why all of this is hugely important. It's why we're here trying to make all of this happen. And I'd just like to throw one other thing out. I'm sure everybody's heard this, but Hayes Arts Council is going to be getting a new director. So Brenda's retiring. Talk about a fixture in this community.
Fixture, yes.
For the last 35 years. So I just, she's not retiring until end of August, but it was announced, and so they're looking for a new director. So if anybody's, knows of the right person, get
Big
them.
shoes to fill.
Big
Oh.
shoes to
Big
fill,
shoes to
and
fill.
so, but it's an important thing
Yes,
to
it
fill,
is.
and we've
Yes, it
got,
is.
they're at $2 million, I think, so they're 2/3 of the way to getting a new renovations for the Arts Council, I think, so I think that's huge, but just a shout out and thanks to Brenda, and look forward to, hopefully another 35 years with somebody really, really great filling those shoes.
Very good, thank you. Commissioner Reuter.
Yeah, this last weekend with graduations was a lot of fun. I got the honor of sitting in on Fort Hays' graduation Saturday morning, both of those. And it's wonderful to see all those kids go through it, and then the amount of things that they're doing, of not just random degrees. They're really important, every single one of them that walk through there. I mean, we had social workers and nurses and education specialists that walked through those 2 days was phenomenal. I think when I was talking with President Mason too, we were talking about, I think, the nursing program, and I think she said 3 of them are not going to stay in Kansas, just 3 people.
Really?
And that's because one's going to Nebraska and the other 2 are going to be on Kansas City, Missouri. So just over the border. So they're all staying right here in this region, which is phenomenal. So that's a lot of fun. Other things I had was congrats to Hayes High and T&P boys baseballs for moving on. They're kicking butt.
I don't think you can say that.
And Hayes High Girls Softball.
They're kicking dirt.
Yep, that's good.
Yeah. The softball teams are doing really well. T&P girls lost a heartbreaker last night. They had a phenomenal season too. So good luck to them as they go on to state. Last thing I had is on Saturday at the Arc Park is the picnic in the park, 11 to 2. Bring your family, friends, lawn chair out. It's going to be lots of fun. Food trucks and live music. Come hang out with the community. Live animals too. Oh, you're going to be there.
Snakes.
Tailgating starts at your house and then over?
I guess so.
Okay.
Look for the worst lawn in the area. That'll be mine. But that's all I have.
Good. Commissioner Cunningham. Did we lose her?
Can you hear me?
Oh, there she is. Now we can.
Okay, so I just want to add, first off, you guys took a lot of my comments. So, I want to also just congratulate Hayes High Baseball and TNT Baseball. I think that's really exciting for our community to see that we're able to send 2 teams to state. It's pretty fascinating. And lastly, obviously, still congratulations to all the graduates, but tomorrow's the last half day for the district, and so that will officially release everybody into summer. So be safe and have fun this summer.
Thank
That's all I
you.
got.
Thank you. I was at graduation on Friday for the two sessions that we had. One of the amazing things to me, we have an amazing nursing program at the university, and the more I learn about it, the more impressed I am. But what was exciting to me is we had 39 graduates of the nursing doctoral program. That is huge. That's a relatively new program at the university. These nurses are taking themselves to the optimal, and I'm not sure they won't go farther, but it was really nice to see that many rows covered with them. The restaurants in town, and I normally this would be Commissioner Musil's comment, I don't even know how they handled the number of people in this town, but I want to congratulate them for getting it done. I talked to a number of people that were in town as well, and they commented on how this community served them when we let them know there were 3 graduations going on at the same time, and all these people were in the same town. I mean, they're just amazed. I didn't have one single person complain, and I was around a lot of people. Yeah. So our restaurants really did go crazy. And lastly, with Fort Hays graduation, and I know they did it Saturday, I'm sure they did it as well. One of the most impressive things I've seen over the years at Fort Hays when we go to the graduations is they have first-generation graduates stand. The number of first-generation graduates that are graduating from Fort Hays State University is unbelievable. The second session last week, I couldn't count them fast enough. I would have tried, but I will bet you at least 30%, maybe 40% stood as first-generation graduates, and they're choosing this university to do that. So we're extremely proud, extremely proud.
Yeah, the education one was just like that too.
That's wonderful. Very good. Now we have an executive session. Is that correct?
Yes, I would request the commission enter into an executive session for a period not to exceed 20 minutes, to include city commission, city manager, deputy city manager, assistant city manager, for matters covered under the attorney-client privilege. And city
Counsel.
attorney,
Yeah.
yes. We can't talk city
Yeah, we can't talk.
privilege without him.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. We enter executive session for 20 minutes. Everyone in favor, please say aye.
I,
Opposed, same sign. We start 5:15.